Hi, I'm Rob Reiner, director of the film.
I'm Billy Crystal. I was Harry Burns.
And this is Nora Efron. I'm the screenwriter.
So, Rob, you were at Alan Horn's house, and his father told you a story about how they met?
Yes, he was sitting there quietly, not participating in the conversation. I said, Mr. Horn, how did you meet Mrs. Horn? And the first story that you see in the film is his story. And it gave me the idea to use real life stories of how people met and fell in love. And that became a kind of motif that we used. And then Nora took a lot of, we actually filmed real couples telling their stories. And then they weren't as compelling as actors. And so Nora took their stories and wrote them and made them into, more concise stories. And then we hired actors.
Now, let me ask you a question.
All right, but before you do, I want to talk a little bit about what you're hearing, which is Harry Connick Jr. playing piano, and it had to be you. And he actually was 20 years old at the time, right. And a friend of mine named Bobby Colombi, who used to be the drummer for Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
I used to open for them.
You did?
Yeah.
All right. Well, he came. I had a conversation with him. He says, you should get Harry Connick. And I said, who is he? He came, brought me a tape, and a guy who sang like Frank Sinatra, and he played piano like Thelonious Monk. And I said, wow, he's terrific. So we used him, and with Mark Shaman, who
I turned you on to.
Well, Mark Shaman, used to work for you all the time. And
Mark was like a rain Jew. He knew everything. He was insanely bright about music and the B side of songs. And this song would be good for here. And Rob said, I need someone who knows. I said, I have him. You have to meet Rain Jew. So they met, and then it became a thing.
Yeah. And then Mark arranged all of the, the standards, and also did some scoring for the film. There's your name, Nora.
I know. Well, you should tell the story, or I will tell the story, because I'm sure you've forgotten of how this really started, which was in a hotel room. And you said, I haven't always had a great idea for a movie, which is that two people become friends at the end of the first major relationships of each of their lives, and they make a decision not to have sex because it will ruin the relationship, and then they have sex and it ruins the relationship. And that's where it started on Central Park South.
Right. And then Nora sat with Andy Scheinman and myself and basically interviewed us and said, what goes on in your life, and took all these stories down.
These horrible stories.
These horrible dating stories, which, I'd been single for 10 years and had plenty of those.
Also, I heard about your marriage, too.
My failed marriage at the time. Little did I know that I was going to meet my future wife while making the movie.
While we were there.
There, yeah.
We all saw it.
Yeah, you saw it occur.
When I came on, I called Jack Lord and said, can I borrow your hair?
Which is this hairpiece right here. Yes. And, And that was an interesting process because Nora...
This entire scene is about hairpieces.
Well, she's got the Farrah Fawcett look there.
Yeah.
Yes, one of the things I remember saying to the hair and the costume people is that it would be great if her hair got younger as she got older.
That's interesting. Yeah,
and they almost did it.
Yeah. But and so the process was really interesting because Nora, like I said, interviewed us. Then she went off and wrote a draft, and I had made a movie in between. She came back. We sat and traded ideas. She went back and wrote another draft.
And you made another movie.
And made another movie. And then we came back, and Andy and I and Nora got in a room, and we started reworking and doing it. And then Billy came on, and he added a lot too. It was the best collaborative process,
pre-production writing period, rehearsal period I've ever had in any movie, because everyone had something to offer. And when you offered it, if it was good, it ended up in there, and that's what movies should be like.
Well, I was very lucky because to have Nora there during rehearsals was a real gift, because it's not just somebody who can fix a scene if it's not working, but also who has a great eye and obviously a terrific director too, to help me shape a scene and so on. So it was a great experience.
I always love talking about this scene because to me it's the scene that proves conclusively what actors are, which is that you can have a scene that's kind of charming and funny on the page, but a sort of thing that would make you smile or think this is a smart movie or whatever you want to think. But the laughs come from the grapes and from the hairspray. And that's what the actors bring to you if the actors are really funny and know how to convert basically a single into a triple.
Right. And Billy was the one we had to find. We wanted to find something a little edgy for him, for Billy. And it was Billy's idea with the grapes.
Right.
I mean, he said I'll be eating grapes and spitting the seeds out the window, and that'll give me a little edge to the scene.
Well, I used to do a routine about my grandfather teaching me how to drive. So he would sit in a right-hand seat as low as humanly possible so you couldn't see who he was. And he told me how to drive at 28 miles an hour in a left-hand lane. And he would cough up and spit. And he spit against the window, and he said, I'll roll the window down. So it seemed perfect. I never throw anything out. So it seemed perfect to make it the grapes.
You're a comedic pack rat.
That's right. But grapes are an awkward food.
Yeah.
So
No, it was perfect. It was a perfect moment.
And you think this makes you a better person?
And this was, basically coming out of me. But Billy also, we share this, this whole dark view of life. I mean, you have Sally Albright, and then you have Harry Burns. I mean,
I think that was one of the things that I grew most fond of as we sat around talking about your life, Rob, was that you were depressed, but you were extremely fond of your depression. It was sort of like this sort of stuffed pet that you brought with you. And you kind of trotted it out for laughs, and it made it all work for this character.
Yeah. He's depressed, but he still functions, and he has he can use the depression translates into humor a lot of times. And this scene I loved because Nora came up with this thing about the days of the week. I mean, this was two things in this scene. One is the way Sally orders, which comes directly out of the way Nora orders food, which happened during the many lunches that we had.
Which is, I'm afraid, is getting worse.
I know. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
But as we expressed later in the film, you make the food better. You make it the way that the chef never could have imagined how good it could have been. And
which I actually say.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. It's later in the film.
It was like it came out of our mouths and onto the page. That's how it worked. It was really fun.
Well, it was fun.
We used everything.
Yeah, we used everything. I mean, like I said, we had lunches, and Nora would order in this, with everything on the side, and how this should be done, that should be done. I said, this has to go right into the film. So we put it in, and it became one of the most talked about parts of her character, is the way she orders.
I did too.
In fact, I was on an airplane about 10 years later and asked the stewardess extremely nicely if she could do something to the coffee. It took a little while. And after I finished, the woman looked at me and said, "Did you ever see When Harry Met Sally?"
Perfect. That's perfect. Perfect. And then the other thing that this scene has is the days of the week underwear, which I love too.
Which, of course, I actually had those underwear, and they did not make Sunday.
And you think it was because of God, huh?
I've never known, but it just amazed me that you only got 6 days of pants.
Yeah. The looks Billy had all throughout the film at her behavior was, to me, terrific. You see it great in the orgasm scene too. Later on, we'll get to that.
Because if you didn't break up, you wouldn't be here with me. You'd be off with Sheldon the Wonder Schlong.
That's Billy's line.
Sheldon.
Yeah.
And second of all, it is none of your business why we broke up.
You're right. I don't want to know.
Well, if you must, because you're very jealous, and I have these days of the week under.
The other thing that's so nice is their chemistry was instant. I mean, everybody talks about, how a romantic comedy, you have to have good chemistry between the leads. And Billy and Meg had it
Well,
immediately.
so let me ask you a question. The picture before this for me was Throw Mama from the Train.
Right.
And Meg came in and read great. Danny didn't want her because he felt she was too young for the part, and he cast an actress named Kim Greist. If he had cast her, Meg,
Yeah.
would you have cast her?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why not. I don't believe in those kind of things where you don't, cast somebody that's not perfect. I mean, when she came in to read, it was instantaneous.
Yeah.
I mean, the first few lines out of her mouth, I thought, oh, and she was young.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she was 26 when we made this.
I think more like 24.
Really?
Well, yeah, whatever. Yeah. But it didn't matter to me. I mean, you look like contemporaries.
Well, I was 27.
Yeah, right.
My hair was 9, but I was 27.
Amanda is my friend.
So?
So you're going with her.
So?
So you're coming on to meet me.
No, I wasn't. What? Can a man say a woman is attractive without it being a come on?
You sure did cut this movie great, Rob.
Just for the sake of argument.
This is a nice scene. I remember we staged this scene with her walking around the car, and basically was her object was to keep away from him, to keep the distance, and his was to bore in on her.
Right.
Just let it lie. Okay?
Great, let it lie. That's my policy. That's what I always say. Let it lie. Want to spend the night in a motel?
That's him letting it lie. He lets it lie.
Carrie.
I went the other way.
Carrie.
What? Also, the movie is really beautifully shot by Barry Sonnenfeld, who was, before he was directing. Simple, great, and just let the words work.
Why not?
Yeah, and that was another suggestion Billy had, was Barry to shoot this. He had shot Throw Mama from the Train, and he had a great sense of humor, and he had a great...
Barry could have been one of the characters in it, too.
Absolutely.
You bet.
Because he's from that same food group as Harry and Rob.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's responsible for me meeting my wife, so I love him. I will always love Barry Sonnenfeld.
The thing is, they all want to have sex with you.
They do not.
Do too.
They do not.
Do too. I love that.
This is the premise of the movie right here.
Right.
The whole premise of the movie.
He always wants to have sex with her.
So you're saying that a man can be friends with a woman he finds unattractive?
No, you pretty much want to nail him too.
What if they don't want to have sex with you?
Doesn't matter. Here it comes. The sex thing is already out there, so the friendship is ultimately doomed, and that is the end of the story.
Well, I guess we're not going to be friends then.
Guess not.
That's too bad. You were the only person that I knew in New York.
This was the first use of a standard.
Right.
We had Louis Armstrong. We had some great tunes in this song, in this film, and then we found a lot of other films would do it and would use these kind of standards.
Yeah.
I like potato. You like tomato. I like potato, tomato, tomato. Let's call the whole thing off.
I remember when we shot this scene, it was obviously, downtown in the village, and there was a guy, we had people, a lot of people hanging around the set.
Right.
And this was one of my favorite things. You come out of the trailer, and a big fat guy looks at you and goes, "Looking good." And Billy said, now that man is in my mind.
He's in my mind
he said,
forever.
What forever? He says, when the last dying moments of my life will flash before my eyes, and in the midst of it will be the birth of my children, my marriage to my wife, my friends and all, and then looking good. That guy is going to be in my memory.
Totally true.
Yeah.
That's totally true. It's one of those things that they stick with you that you'll never forget.
Yeah.
We fell in love in high school.
Yeah, we were high schools.
And this is what we talked about earlier. These were actual, real life stories of how people met and fell in love. But then we hired actors to act them out.
Her face was burned.
My brain.
It was 34 years later that I was walking down Broadway, and I saw her.
I love her face.
We both looked at each other.
And we knew
And it was just as though
where
not
it was.
a single day had gone
Mm.
by.
She was just as beautiful as she was at 16.
He was just the same. He looked exactly the same.
I remember, Rob, when you said you were going to let real people tell their stories and use them, and I said, well, that's never going to work.
Yeah. Well, you were right
I was
about
right
that.
about that one.
You were right about that.
Because it's like when you go interview your grandparents about how they came here, and like at 3 hours later, they still haven't gotten on the boat.
Right.
You know?
Well, that was it. The stories were great, but they just didn't have the, they didn't have the theatrical ability to make it concise. And
Now, this actor was what?
Gerald's
Ford's
son.
something son. Yeah.
Gerald Ford's
Yeah.
son. Yeah.
I thought it was you. I thought it was you, Harry Burns.
Looks like him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Good. How you doing?
I'm fine. I'm doing fine.
That's great. I was just walking by and I thought it was you, and there it is. It's you.
Yeah.
You still at the DA's office?
No, I switched to the other side.
Meg played this scene really well.
Yeah.
With the political consulting.
Ah,
Great.
yeah. Oh, Harry, this is Sally Albright. Harry Burns. Harry and I, we used to, we lived.
That was perfect. It's like do I know this person?
Well, listen, I got a plane to catch. It was really good to see you, Joe.
You too, Harry.
Bye.
I love that little thing because it had, in all those looks, it said everything.
New York within 5 years.
Is this somebody that I know?
Night of my life.
But am I interested in her? Do I like her? What, it was like very perfect on all those eye looks.
Oh, God, I can't remember her name. Don't get involved with me, Joe. I am 26 years old, and I can't even remember the name of the girl I was such good friends with. I wouldn't get involved with her boyfriend.
So what happened?
When?
When he made a pass at you, you said no.
Oh. I said we could just be friends. And this part I remember. He said that men and women could never really be friends. Do you think that's true?
No.
Do you have any women friends?
This really is based on somebody that I went out with.
Oh,
I
yeah?
just want to say that whom I went out with in college, and then he popped into my life about 6 years later, and then popped into my life again every single time, saying horrible things that burned themselves into my brain. So some people just have a way of doing that, and we've seen just enough movies to think that because we don't like them, we're destined to be with them forever.
Now, this scene was the scene that triggered us creating the orgasm scene, believe it or not, because we had this scene in here where you find out something about men that most women don't really understand, which is until you meet the woman you really love, after you have sex, it's pretty much over for you, and you don't really want to spend a lot of time. And this was a shocking revelation for Meg's character in the movie. She was stunned. And I said, we have to have the counterpart to that. We've got to find something that women know that men don't know about their behavior. And that gave rise to the fake orgasm scene later in the movie.
You two like to sit together?
Because Nora said, well, I can tell you something that men don't know about women is that most women fake an orgasm. And
Rob,
and I went,
you
no,
remember
that's
what you
not
said?
possible.
No, you didn't say that's not possible. You said, not with me.
Not with me, right? Well, which is what most men think.
That's
most
right.
men think. And then I went around the office and
Oh my God.
I did a little unscientific poll, basically with the women, but they were shocked that I kept coming. And then it turned out Nora was absolutely right that most of the women.
It's weird because it wasn't that long ago, and yet it was a shocking revelation at the time.
Yeah. Most of the women said, yeah, they had faked it at one point or another. So this was the antecedent to that scene.
You were going to be a gymnast.
A journalist.
Right, that's what I said. And?
I am a journalist. I work at the Nora.
Right, and you're with Joe.
Well, that's great. Great.
You're together, what, 3 weeks?
A month. How did you know that?
You take someone to the airport, it's clearly the beginning of a relationship.
This is a perfect Nora Efron observation about life.
Why?
Because eventually things move on, and you don't take someone to the airport. And I never wanted anyone to say to me, how come you never take me to the airport anymore?
It's amazing. You look like a normal person, but actually you are the angel of death.
Are you going to marry him?
We have only known each other for a month, and besides, neither one of us is looking to get married right now.
I'm getting married.
I love this.
You are?
Who is she?
You are. Who is she? You're getting married.
That's the joy of Meg, is you write the words who is she on a piece of paper, and she knows it's funny. And
Yeah.
And when you're sitting
oh
next
my
to
God.
it, and when you're sitting next to it at the time, and you know it's like gold, it's just like such a pleasure. Yeah.
Mm.
Nice to see you embracing life in this manner.
Yeah, plus, you just get to a certain point where you get tired of the whole thing.
What whole thing?
The whole life of a single guy thing. Meet someone, you have the safe lunch, you decide you like each other enough to move on to dinner. You go dancing, you do the white man's overbite.
Oh, that's you. That's you.
The white man's overbite.
Yeah.
How long do I have to lie here and hold her before I can get up and go home? Is 30 seconds enough?
That's what you're thinking? Is that true?
Sure. All men think that. How long do you like to be held afterwards? All night, right? See, that's the problem. Somewhere between 30 seconds and all night is your problem.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah, you do.
It's so much fun to watch this, listening to the two of you, because it all came from everybody. It was
Yeah.
like, I always say it was like the all-time pizza with everything, that you
Yeah.
just, everybody kept throwing great things on the pizza, and it got
Yes.
more and more amazing.
Yeah, everything except pineapple, which I can't stand. Now
Could have
this,
been a mistake.
yeah, this scene, like a number of scenes in the film, looks very simple because all it is two people on a moving walkway having a conversation. But as you see, it's one take. There's no, there's no coverage. There's, different angles with the camera, and the timing has to be absolutely perfect.
Did you not cover it at all?
No.
Oh, man.
No, never covered it because I knew I wanted it to be this way. And so they did it a number of times. There were probably 4 or 5 good takes.
Mm.
And I don't remember how many times we did it. We must have done it about 10 or 15 times.
Yeah, maybe even more.
Maybe more, but there were 4 or 5 good ones. But this was the best, and it was both of them. Their timing was absolutely perfect. You can't bobble a line. You can't,
And look at the focus; it's fantastic.
Yeah, you can't miss the timing, and so you'll see. And then later,
Because we had to nail it perfectly because the walkway had to end, so she could move on and go.
Yeah, it looks simple
and tough to light. Too.
Yes, yes, because you have to light it all the way down. So that's a tricky scene. There's another one coming up later in the film where they have a 4-way phone conversation, which we'll get into. It also looks simple. It's like I liken it to like Joe DiMaggio making a great catch in the outfield. It doesn't look like runs like a maniac, but it doesn't look like he's doing anything, and then he just gracefully catches the ball, and it doesn't look like anything happened.
Well, as you always said, Rob, these movies have a high degree of difficulty. They're like that. They're like that dive that it doesn't have flips and it doesn't have anything. It's just a simple dive, but it's hard to do them.
Yes, and you want to make it perfect, and you got to enter the water exactly perfect without a splash, and then it looks simple, but they're very difficult. I love this scene. This is pure Nora, the women talking at
the
lunch.
Rolodex.
Yeah.
He and his wife just went out and spent $1,600 on a dining room table. Where?
Yes, I'm sorry to say this scene is very autobiographical.
Leave her. So what else is new? You've known this for 2 years. You're right. You're right. I know you're right.
Why can't you find someone single? When I was single, I knew lots of nice single men. There must be someone. Sally found someone.
Well, Sally got the last good one.
Joe and I broke up
What? When?
Monday.
You waited 3 days to tell her?
Available? For God's sake, Marie, don't do
Carrie.
She's obviously upset.
I'm not that upset. We've been growing apart for quite a while.
But you guys were a couple. You had someone to go places with. You had a date on national holidays.
I love that line. You had a date on national holidays.
21 years old, and the clock is ticking.
Carrie was wonderful in this film.
Sure was.
And she really felt like Sally's friend. I mean, they really seemed perfect together.
Well, then they became friends,
I feel okay.
Good.
those two.
Ready.
Really, Marie?
Well, how else do you think you do it?
Oh, look at the Rolodex. It's so sweet. It's like an ancient relic.
I know. Now we got your iPhone. You don't need to pull anything out of it.
Rolodex.
Warning period. Who is it?
Alex Anderson.
Oh.
Lisa Jane Persky was very good in this scene, too. She was wonderful. I remember when we shot this in Central Park, it was freezing cold. Doesn't look like it because they're all pretending it's like a nice, fall, nice fall or summer day. And it was very, very, very cold that day. And the minute we said cut, they went and bundled up and put the parkas on.
Right now has no chance of being anything to me but a transitional man. Okay.
I remember Barry also talking about the date that the leaves would stop changing and they'd fall off the trees. Remember that? And
Yes.
we were doing the dream scene.
6 months later.
And then we had two setups that day. We did that, and then Bruno and I in the rain and did the fast walking and all that stuff. And it rained that day.
Right.
And Barry said, November 11th, I think, is the day that the leaves will fall away.
Yeah.
And they did. It was like cut, and all the leaves just fell.
But we had it enough time for this scene and the scene with the two of you walking in the park, which would look beautiful. This started as a sketch idea that I had at Dodger Stadium with you. We Billy and I were at Dodger Stadium, and we started thinking about the idea of what if you got into a deep, really serious conversation that was emotional, and you got caught in the middle of a wave.
It was called Caught in a Wave.
Caught in a wave, and that actually happened in a discussion. We were at the ballpark,
and then my therapist said, "Whoa."
Yeah. So that became
so great. And of course, once again, it's the thing that gives you the laugh in the scene. I like the scene. It's a funny scene, and it's good on the page, but it's the standing up and sitting down that
makes it
funny.
Yeah.
It's what makes it, what gives you the laugh.
Yep.
It just places it in an unusual place. The same we did later with the singing machine. In the sharper image.
Yeah.
With it just singing in the background.
The juxtaposition.
Yeah. And Bruno was such a great actor.
Yeah, we miss Bruno. He just, he was a wonderful actor. And again, at that time, Bruno and Billy were like very close friends. So it not a lot had to be investigated to create that friendship.
The words are still hanging in the air, like in a balloon attached to a mouth.
Like a cartoon.
Right. So I go to the door, and there are moving men there. Now I start to get suspicious. I say, Helen, when did you call these movers? And she doesn't say anything. So I ask the movers, when did this woman book you for this gig? And they're just standing there, 3 huge guys, one of them wearing a T-shirt that says, "Don't fuck with Mr. Zero." I said, Helen, when did you make this arrangement? She says, a week ago. I said, you've known for a week and you didn't tell me? And she said, I didn't want to ruin your birthday.
You're saying Mr. Zero knew you were getting a divorce?
Mr. Zero, no.
I can't believe it.
I haven't told you the bad part yet.
What could be worse than Mr. Zero?
It's all a lie. She's in love with somebody else. Some tax attorney. She moved in with him.
How did you find out?
I followed her. I stood outside the building.
So humiliating.
Tell me about it. And I knew the whole time that even though we were happy, it was just an illusion. And that one day she would kick the shit out of me.
Marriages don't break up on account of infidelity. It's just a symptom that something else is wrong.
Really? Well, that symptom is fucking my
That extra sitting in front of Billy. Oh, man.
This we shot up at the Shakespeare
and Company, rest in peace. Not there anymore.
Oh, no, really?
Oh.
81st and Broadway, yeah. I think there's one still downtown, but
That was the nice thing about shooting this movie. We had real locations. We were all over New York. I mean, it's hard to find new, Woody Allen has shot every square inch of New York, so we had to find other little places and things that we could find. And then to be able to break at lunch and go to...
that was the best.
There were great lunch places anywhere around there, so it was a lot of fun.
Personal growth.
Daring him in personal growth.
Staring at you in
personal growth. I love that line.
Meg apparently had gotten something from the Charles Nelson Riley estate. What's with the
Yeah, this is her third hairdo, right?
Yeah.
This is her third one.
You think he's cute? Because last time I saw him, he was getting married.
When was that?
6 years ago.
He might not be married anymore.
Look how good Carrie is.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
She's a rock.
Please remember, the lady vanishes when she says to me, "You're the most obnoxious man I ever met."
Contemptible.
They're both madly in love.
Also, he never remembers me.
Sally Albright.
Hi, Harry.
Thought it was you.
It is. Yeah. This is Marie. Was Marie.
How are you?
Fine.
How's Joe?
Fine. Here he's fine.
You're not with Joe anymore?
We just broke up.
Oh. I'm sorry. That's too bad.
Yeah. Well, you know. Yeah. So, what about you?
I'm fine.
How's married life?
Not so good. Getting a divorce.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm really sorry.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? What happened with you guys?
When Joe and I started seeing each other, we wanted exactly.
This is one of my favorite stories about
want to get married.
Yeah.
sex and whether or not you can, be spontaneous and have sex with somebody that you can, make love on the kitchen floor. And this is something, married couples, and I've been married now 19 years. You quote this all the time because it's something you think that you can do. And then the truth is you'd rather be in a bed.
Yeah.
It's not so much fun on a sandy beach and a thing, a comfortable place is better.
But I love that she pours her heart out to Harry, and he said, "And the floor, did you ever?"
Yeah. This scene.
This was so nice because both of you in it, having been full of stuff in the first two meetings, it's so stripped bare. You're both just there. You've both been hurt. It's very clear. It's.
And Meg
She's
is
fabulous.
absolutely brilliant in this scene. I always point to this scene as her, in my view, the best moments she has in the film, because it's just so real and honest.
I Spy a Family. And I started to cry. I just started crying. And I went home and I said, the thing is, Joe, we never do fly off to Rome on a moment's notice.
On the kitchen floor.
It's all gets better.
This very cold, hard Mexican ceramic tile. Anyway, we talked about it for a long time, and I said, this is what I want. And he said, well, I don't. And I said, well, I guess it's over. And he left. And the thing is, I feel really fine. I am over him. I really am over him. That was it for him. That was the most that he could give. And every time I think about it, I am more and more convinced that I did the right thing.
Boy, you sound really healthy.
Yeah.
At least I got the apartment.
That's what everybody says to me, too. But really, what's so hard about finding...
And this was the line that you had, the wood-burning fireplace.
You find out who died, go to the building, and then you tip the doorman. What they could do to make it easier is combine the obituaries with the real estate section. So then you have Mr. Klein died today, leaving a wife, 2 children, and a spacious 3-bedroom apartment with a wood-burning... the first...
It's a great music cue, too.
Yeah, it's the perfect introduction to our theme.
And of course, it's just Mark sitting there at the piano, right?
Right.
Oh,
That's all it was.
he's so great.
But to bring back the main theme at this point, which is the first little touch point where you see them begin to get closer to each other. And those little fence posts that we set up throughout the course of the film.
And I have to say, we're very cute together.
You are.
Don't I look handsome?
And the wardrobe is, I love the wardrobe too.
Yeah.
You do, Billy. You do.
Would you like to have dinner with me sometime?
Are we becoming friends now?
Well, yeah.
Great. A woman friend.
This is when I learned about the beauty of the wide-angle lens.
Right.
You get to see a lot, and they get to walk off, very quickly into the distance. And it's a really nice, perfect lens at that point.
I love them.
This guy here to the left is Bernie Hearn. He was the best man at my father's wedding.
Oh.
And he was a comedian. My father met him in the Catskills, I think. He was in some of the shows. They did shows together. And he was a great, comic actor.
And she?
I didn't know her before.
They're terrific together.
Yeah, they're perfect. And this was a Nora specialty, the back and forth.
In the Ambassador Hotel in Chicago.
He was on the
Illinois.
3rd floor.
I wrote up 9 extra floors just to keep talking to her.
9 extra floors.
That's you, Rob. Sorry, it is.
It is. I'm sorry. I don't know. That's it. It gets blurred after
I know,
a while.
it
We
does.
all. It was a stew. We all poured in things into the stew.
No, I was watching Casablanca.
In this case, too many cooks didn't spoil the broth.
That's true.
Now you're telling me you would be happy with Victor Laszlo than with Humphrey Bogart?
When did I say that?
When we drove to New York.
You never said that. I would never have said that.
All right, fine. Have it your way. Have you been sleeping?
Why?
'Cause I haven't been sleeping. I really miss Helen. Maybe I'm coming down with something. Last night I was up at 4 in the morning watching Leave It to Beaver in Spanish. Buenos dias, Senor Cleveland.
This is an interesting little thing. The guy's reading Misery, if you notice.
Right.
Harry's reading Misery, which is the next film I did. But this whole thing about the two of them sharing their feelings while they're both going to bed in their separate bedrooms was something that came out of me and Billy. I talked to Billy all the time before I went to bed at night when I was single, and we just to talk about all kinds of stuff. And,
Right.
And
at times we were very much. I loved this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
You were like down the block on a
the long
land.
land. Yeah.
And I just get to be Oliver Hardy here for a little while.
Maybe I only missed the idea, Helen.
But all of this stuff ends up in that great last speech at New Year's Eve. All of this stuff of being patient with her and loving her at the same time is, and
will you? It's that will you?
Would you just? Well,
yeah.
But this was a period of time when, that bonded Rob and I for life during this time, which was going through painful things and just, being there for each other and talking. And Channel 9, you got it? Arena yachting. What is arena yachting? Remember that?
Yeah.
Arena football. What other sports? Arena yachting? Arena. And
well, for me, I was going through a very tough time. I was, broken up with my first wife, going through a divorce. It was very tough, and to have somebody that I could talk to at night before I went to sleep was a big.
Who didn't charge you money?
Exactly.
I remember when we were working on the movie, and I made you watch Indiscreet with Ingrid Bergman and Cary Grant because they had these split screens.
Right.
Do you remember?
Right.
They were both in bed.
Right.
In separate beds.
Right. And pillow talk, if you remember.
Right.
Yes.
And they were both, Rock Hudson and Doris Day were both in the different bathtubs with their feet up against the wall. But, what's interesting is that line from Casablanca, Louis, this could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship, which is one of the top 100 lines in AFI history. And then we have a line, I'll have what she's having, which is also in the top 100.
Right.
So we got two in this movie, two out of the top 100 lines.
I'm so surprised Don't Fuck with Mr. Zero didn't make it, because to me that makes me go. It just makes me go.
Now, didn't they say during the commentary we're not supposed to use bad language?
Yes.
But there's bad language in the movie.
That's true.
So this is the perfect thing, the man moaning himself to sleep. I did more than one occasion that I moaned myself to sleep. And this was a total Billy joke right here. This one he came up with, the thing about the East German judge.
Perfect 10 from the American. And my mother, disguised as an East German judge, gave me a 5.6. Must have been a dismount.
Yeah, this is a big
shock, a beautiful color.
Yeah. Well, we got lucky.
Don't tell me.
Okay, there's this guy.
What's he look like?
I don't know. He's just kind of faceless.
Faceless guy. Okay, then what?
This is a complete Nora thing.
Mm-hmm.
That she cares more about what she's wearing. than the fact that she's being raped or whatever.
A faceless guy rips off your clothes, and that's the sex fantasy you've been having since you were 12. exactly the same.
Well, sometimes I varied it a little.
Which part?
What I'm wearing. What?
I have decided.
This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and this is all Billy. Well, a lot of it is.
Yeah, but this was in rehearsal with this. When I remember sitting there.
Yeah.
We were at the Mexican place called Zumaya. Nora, remember? It was down the block, across from Raleigh, down the block next to Lucy's.
Right.
And we were talking about when you start to love someone, you start to do your funny voice. You start to trust them with that, and that's where this came from. And we just started fooling around, and Meg actually looks at Rob right there.
Yeah, like, should I keep going?
Yeah.
Is this something I should be doing? Because Billy kind of just threw this at her, and we started doing it, and she looks at me like, should I keep going with this?
It was so much fun to do because I also felt that this was a very romantic scene where he asked her out and said, you should really... you should wear dresses more. You look good in dresses, and it's really, it's great. I mean,
well, it's also you putting a toe in the water here.
Yeah.
You know, you're basically saying, okay, I'm gonna
take this next step.
Test the waters to see if there's romance here.
Yeah,
and you know, she very gently rebuffs you,
right? And
it's a little bit hurt on your part, but you like her and you want her to be successful.
Yeah.
She's going to be successful with somebody else,
right? But then he hit a little hit on it. I like that.
I don't know. Why?
I think you should wear skirts more.
Well, he likes her
You look really
a lot.
good in skirts.
Yeah.
I do?
Yeah. You know,
See, look at her look.
Yeah.
Oh, I could like him for a second. It came in and went out.
Yeah.
She's fabulous.
I think you should get out there too.
Oh, I'm not ready.
You should.
I would not be good for anybody right now.
It's time.
It was the most uncomfortable.
So, you know, it has to go this way. The first day back is always the toughest, Harry.
You only had one date.
That was a good
I would
partner,
like to
too.
say that one of the breakthroughs of this movie is the bottle of water.
That's right.
You know, people did not carry around bottles of water until this movie. I swear to God.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Sitting and we're talking
That's
about the
hilarious.
Ethiopian restaurant that she wanted to go to. And I was making jokes, you know, like, hey, I didn't know that they had food in Ethiopia. This will be a quick meal. I'll order 2 empty plates and we can leave. Yeah.
Someone accused me of being really tasteless with that line, Billy. I just want you to know that it's your line, that Ethiopian starvation line.
That and Ted Kennedy was shot.
Kennedy was shot. Yeah.
Oh man, I started sweating like a pig.
Helen went to Michigan State?
No, she went to Northwest.
That's my favorite thing too. He can associate anything back to his pain, whatever it is. He'll connect it back to his pain in some way.
Long time. It might be months before we're actually able to enjoy going out with someone new.
Yeah.
And maybe longer.
What's also wonderful about the movie, looking at it as we pat ourselves on the back a little, is when you see them together, it's so obvious they should be together, except it's not to them.
Yeah.
Huh.
On this scene, there's Billy hitting left-handed. Now, Billy is a right-handed hitter, but because of the angles that I wanted to get with the cameras, I asked Billy, could he bat left-handed so I could cover the scene a little bit better? And he said, yeah, okay. Now, that's a big thing because a guy like Billy, who's a really good baseball player, wants to look good when he's playing baseball. But he said, no, I'll do it. I can hit left-handed.
Was too.
Jerk.
Oh, creep. Where was I?
You were growing.
Yeah. Very free. I can say anything to her.
Are you saying you can say things to her you can't say to me?
No, it's just different. It's a whole different perspective. I get the woman's point of view on things. She tells me about the men that she goes out with, and I can talk to her about the women that I see.
You tell her about other women.
Yeah. Like the other night. I made love to this woman, and it was so incredible. I took her to a place that wasn't human. She actually meowed.
Oh, I hit that one good, Rob.
That's the point. I can say these things to her. And the great thing is, I don't have to lie because I'm not always thinking about how to get her into bed. I can just be myself.
You made a woman meow?
Here's the famous scene.
Get up out of bed and leave.
And then, like I said, this came out of us wanting to find something that women do that men didn't know that they did. And Billy wrote the last line. I mean, Meg said she could do this. Meg was very confident that she could do it. She said, I can fake the orgasm in an incongruous place like a deli.
No, you're just not telling the story
Okay,
right.
all right. Yes, I remember it well.
No, but it was, you said, okay, all right, we've told you all this stuff about guys. You tell us something we don't know about women, which is sort of like, I dare you to tell me something I don't know about women. So I said, okay, women fake orgasms. And you said, not with me.
Right.
And I said, yes, with you and with everybody else, at least. And you went storming into the bullpen of Castle Rock, where they kept the women, the windowless spot. And you said, get in here. And this group of totally cowed young women came in. And you said, is it true that women fake orgasms? And, they all nodded yes. It was a shocking moment.
Yeah.
And we attached the scene onto this other scene that we had. And then we had the read through, remember, with the 4 actors. And Meg said afterwards, I think that scene would be better if I actually had an orgasm at the end of it. And
in an incongruous place.
In a restaurant.
Yeah, yeah.
And you said that is a great idea.
Right. And so she offered the idea that she could do that in an incongruous place like a restaurant. And I said, that's great.
And then Billy said, and then when she's done, I can say...
No, the woman was...
the woman in the restaurant, and when Billy said, and when she's done, a customer in the restaurant should say, I'll have what she's having.
Right.
And Rob said, and I know just the actor to play the part, my mother.
Well, it was interesting because when we shot this scene, you see Meg doing it full out and perfectly. But when the first few takes we did it, she was nervous. And there was strangers. There were strangers. She did it very lackluster.
And I'm thinking, is this the way she actually has it?
And I said, no, Meg, you got to do it full out. It's not going to work unless you do. She tried it again, and it wouldn't do it. And finally, I sat opposite Billy, and I started pounding the table. Here comes the line.
I'll have what she's having.
That's my mother.
Estelle Reiner.
So I'm pounding the table, and having this orgasm.
But it's an orgasm for the ages.
Yeah, and Billy says to me, he says, it's like being on a date with Sebastian Cabot. and I really...
So he pulls me aside, and he goes, oh, I think I made a big mistake. I said, no, she was fine. She's not embarrassed. He said, no, I just had an orgasm in front of my mother.
It was a wild day. And now...
I think we should back it up and go through it again, because we didn't really talk about the extras, Rob, and how brilliantly you cast them. How every face in that delicatessen is so great and so full of humanity. It's a wonderful scene. And by the way, I once saw the movie without it on an airplane.
Oh, my God.
Because it's what got the movie an R rating, which is so unjustified and stupid.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see the movie without it.
The Santa Claus is my Uncle Burns, who has he's been a subject of a documentary on HBO that was terrific, and he's an amazing guy, and he's 94 years old next week.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's him. That's Santa Claus. But the other thing about that scene is that the spot that we shot it in Katz's Deli, there's a sign now an arrow pointing down. This is the table
the Harry and Sally table
where they shot When Harry Met Sally. And to this day at Katz's Deli.
I wish we were there right now having a pastrami sandwich.
Yeah. My mother was happy because I said to her, Mom, if this line Billy wrote isn't the topper, it doesn't top the scene, I think it's going to be funny. If it doesn't top it, I might have to cut it out. She said, that's all right. I'm happy to be down there, spend the day with my son and get a hot dog at Katz's.
And I remember the first test screening out in Burbank or Glendale, and we were sitting in the back, Rob, remember? And the scene came on, movie was playing great, and when the line hit and the audience went nuts, we both threw our fists in the air. And this is really special.
Yeah.
That was a thrilling moment.
And now it's the top one. It's one of the top 100s. Estelle Reiner and Marlon Brando and Humphrey Bogart. Oh, this is a moment where there's another touch point moment where you think,
Yeah, it's almost like a mathematical thing where they just keep. She feels something, but he doesn't. He feels something, but he doesn't. Now
Right.
both of them feel something, but they can't quite do anything about it.
I think they're both a little bit scared. They're both a little frightened of the feelings that they're having, and they back away from them.
He was the head counselor at the boys' camp.
This is the story of my parents.
Really?
Is that the show? I didn't know that.
And he walked across the room.
Yeah, I never knew that.
I thought he was coming to talk to my friend.
So this is worth it for us to do this commentary. I learned something.
But he was coming to talk to me. And he said,
I'm Ben Smalls of the Coney Island Smalls.
at that moment I knew the way you know about a good melon.
You sent flowers to yourself.
$60 I spent on this big, stupid arrangement of flowers, and I wrote a card that I planned to leave on the front table where Arthur would just happen to see it.
And I love this scene because it's the juxtaposition between what the women are talking about on the way to the date and what the men are talking about.
This was on West Broadway, right, in Soho?
Yeah.
The restaurant was
West 67th,
Right.
but who's counting? Or West 70th. Yeah.
Somewhere on the next flower.
What's it called? Snipes.
Well, Cafe Luxembourg,
Cafe
is
Luxembourg.
where we shot the scene.
Right.
And you are one of my best friends. And if by some chance you two hit it off, then we could all still be friends instead of drifting apart the way you do when you get.
That's one of the things the movie is about, of course, like all romantic comedies, is about the difference between men and women.
Arthur ever left his wife, and I actually met him, I'm sure that you and I would drift apart.
He's never going to leave her.
Of course he isn't.
You're right. I know you're right.
I don't know about this. It's just a dinner. You know, I finally got into a place in my life where I'm comfortable with the fact that it's just me and my work. She's so great, why aren't you taking her out?
How many times do I have to tell you? We're just friends.
So you're saying she's not that attractive?
No, I told you she is attractive.
Yeah, but you also said she had a good personality.
She has a good personality.
So, Rob, oh.
When someone's not that attractive, they're always described as having a good personality.
Look, if you would ask me, what does she look like? And I said she has a good personality. That means she's not attractive. But just because I happen to mention that she has a good personality, she could be either. She could be attractive with a good personality or not attractive with a good personality.
So which one is she?
Attractive.
But not beautiful, right? It's like whenever I read Jimmy Breslin, it's as if he's leaving some kind of a wake-up call.
So this is the
This
cafe.
is Bruno's improv.
Right.
About Jimmy Breslin, his little homage to Jimmy Breslin.
And this was the Cafe Luxembourg. We shot this there.
And
this was
thank
the
God,
place,
because I got to get a table there from then on.
and it was the first the place where I first had my first date with my now wife. Was at the Cafe Luxembourg.
Let's just say I'm really just not a big fan of Jimmy Breslin.
Well, he's the reason I became a writer, but that's not important.
Oh, boy.
Harry, you and Marie are both from New Jersey.
Really?
Where are you from?
South Orange.
Haddonfield.
Oh. Cut.
Both from New Jersey. Now we should get married. We're both from New Jersey.
So, what are we going to order?
Well, I'm going to start with the grilled radicchio.
Jess, Sally is a great order. Not only does she always pick the best thing on the menu, but she orders it in a way that even the chef didn't know how good it could be.
I think restaurants have become too important.
I agree. Restaurants are to people in the 80s what theater was to people in the 60s. I read that in a magazine.
I wrote that.
Get out of here.
No, I did. I wrote that.
I've never quoted anything from a magazine in my life. That's amazing. Don't you think that's amazing? And you wrote it?
I also wrote Pesto's Key Creates.
Oh, yourself.
I did.
Where did I read that?
New York Magazine.
Sally writes for New York Magazine.
You know that?
It's perfect.
I don't know that much about writing, but it spoke to you, and I pleased you.
It spoke to you.
I mean, I really you have to admire people who can be that articulate.
Nobody has ever quoted me back to me before.
This scene has one of my favorite laughs in the whole movie. The pretense of thinking, well, I'm not going to hurt anybody's feelings. We're not going to make any moves tonight. And then they just rush into that cab. I mean, that to me is one of my favorite moments in the whole movie.
Well,
Do you think you could go out with him?
I don't know.
Because I feel really comfortable with him.
You want to go out with Jeff?
If it would be all right with you.
Sure, sure. I'm just worried about Harry. He's very sensitive. He's going through a rough period, and I just don't want you to reject him right now.
I wouldn't. I totally understand.
If you don't think you're gonna call Marie, do you mind if I call her?
No.
Good, good.
But for tonight, you should. I mean, Sally's very vulnerable right now. I mean, you can call Marie, it's fine. But just, like, wait a week or so, you know? Don't make any moves tonight.
Fine, no problem. I wasn't even thinking about that. Well, I don't really feel much like walking anymore. I think I'll get a cab.
I'll go with you.
That was perfect. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
A man came to me and said, I found a nice girl for you. She lives.
You know, it's funny. This film is almost 20 years old now. And I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time, and it still holds up. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, it feels contemporary. I mean,
it really
except
does.
for the fact that she's got a Rolodex and there's a few things like that. I mean, it does.
I know.
And nothing is forced. It's just very patient and calm. And everyone just speaks, you know, and that's what's great about it.
Like the way she looks.
Well, that's your dream, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's something will last longer than.
Yeah.
So I said, okay.
Now there are questionnaires. Do you know that?
We get married.
They have on the internet. There, When Harry Met Sally questionnaires. What is Billy Crystal wearing in the Metropolitan Museum of Art?
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, you can't imagine.
Here's your sharper image.
Yeah.
We're here for Jess and Marie.
Chicks and ducks and geese better scurry.
Should go to the plant store.
Here, perfect for them.
What's that?
Battery-operated pith helmet with fan.
Why is this necessary in life?
I don't. Look at this. Also makes great fries. Oh, uh-oh. Good. Call up the dogs. The hunt is over. Sally. This is great. Sally. Please. Look at this. This is the great. You're gonna love this. This is a singing routine. Look. You sing the lead, and it says the backup and everything. This was from Oklahoma.
Her voice in this was unbelievable.
Yes, perfect.
I know. For years, I thought she couldn't sing.
No,
She's
no,
so
but
brilliant in it.
it's hard to sing that bad. The Howard Keel.
On top now, you.
Once that bridge
What? It's my voice, isn't it? I hate my voice. I know. Terrible. Joe hate him.
Helen.
Helen?
Right towards me.
How are you, Harry?
Fine, I'm fine.
This is Iris Stone. Harry Burns.
Harry.
When you meet Helen, you know that he should never have been with her.
Yep.
Sorry, this is Sally Albright, Helen Hilson.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
I love that the thing is going. He keeps going. Zoom, zoom,
zoom.
Nice to meet you, Ira.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm perfect. She looked weird, didn't she? She looked really weird. She looked very weird.
I've never seen her before.
Trust me, she looked weird. Her legs looked heavy. Really, she must be retaining water.
Harry.
Believe me, the woman saved everything.
Sure you're okay?
Oh, I'm fine. Look, it had to happen at some point. In a city of 8 million people, you're bound to run into your ex-wife. So, boom, it happened. And now I'm fine.
I like it. It works. It says home to me.
All right. Well, let Harry and Sally do
This is one of my favorite observations that Nora made, which is not everybody thinks that they have a good taste and a sense of humor, but they can't all have that. And I've quoted that a million times to people. Everybody does think that they have good taste and a sense of humor.
No way to even begin to explain what's so awful about it.
Honey, I don't object to any of your things.
If we had an extra room, you could put all your things in, including your bar stools, and I would not...
Wait, honey, wait. You don't like my bar stool? Harry, come on. Someone has to be on my side.
I'm on your side. I'm just trying to help you have good taste.
I got good taste.
Everybody thinks they have good taste and a sense of humor, but they couldn't possibly all have.
I love that.
We started out like this, Ellen and I. We had blank walls, we hung things, we picked out tiles together. Then you know what happens? 6 years later, you find yourself singing Surrey with a fringe on top in front of everyone.
We have to talk about this right now.
Yes, I think that right now actually is the perfect time to talk about this because I want our friends to benefit from the wisdom of my experience. Right now, everything is great. Everyone is happy. Everyone is in love. And that's wonderful. But you got to know that sooner or later, you're going to be screaming at each other about who's going to get this dish. This $8 dish will cost you $1,000 in phone calls to the legal firm of that's mine, this is yours.
Harry.
Please. Jess, Marie, do me a favor for your own good. Put your name in your books right now before they get mixed up and you don't know whose is whose. Because someday, believe it or not, you'll go 15 rounds over who's going to get this coffee table. This stupid wagon wheel, Rolodexes garage sale coffee table.
I thought you liked it.
Now, this next scene is one of my favorite scenes in the movie because it's the day that I met my wife, was when we were shooting.
Yeah, that was
that
up
scene.
in the 90s.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, up on the Upper West Side. And
we all went to lunch.
We went to lunch at Doc Restaurant.
Right.
Want that wagon wheel.
And she came to visit that day she was with Barry Sonnenfeld. She's a friend of his. And this is when we first met. So this scene holds a lot of importance to me.
Way of not expressing.
And actually, that lunch of you and Michelle was a version of the scene in Cafe Luxembourg in this movie, in that you were sitting across from each other at a table for 8 or 10.
Right.
And the rest of us might as well not have been there.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Throw a little anger your way, especially when I'm being told how to live my life by Miss Hospital Corners.
What's that supposed to mean?
I mean, nothing bothers you. You never get upset about anything.
Don't be ridiculous.
What? You never get upset about Joe. I never see that back up on you. How is that possible? Don't you experience any feelings of loss?
I don't have to take crap from you.
If you're so over Joe, why aren't you seeing anyone?
People.
See people. Have you slept with one person since you broke up with Joe?
What the hell does that have to do with anything? That will prove I'm over Joe because I fucked somebody? Harry, you're going to have to move back to New Jersey because you slept with everybody in New York and see that turning Helen into a faint memory for you. Besides, I will make love to somebody when it is making love, not the way you do it like you're out for revenge or something.
Are you finished now?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't say a word.
Baby fish mouth.
Baby fish mouth.
Monkey see, monkey do.
You know when you're in the airport or a ball game or someone will say some moment in your career, some moment. I get baby fish mouth a lot, and then you know that they're a little extra.
Yeah,
they're a little brighter than some other person or something.
Won't you come home, Bill Babies? Melancholy babies.
This is all improvised. If people
Yes.
don't know that, they
Yes.
should know that.
Baby boom.
Baby.
It's the only way you could do a scene like this.
Baby.
Crying baby. Kiss
Baby spitting up. Exorcist baby.
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 Yes, sir. That's my baby.
No, sir. Don't mean maybe. That's it. Time's up.
Baby talk.
Baby talk? What's that? That's not a saying.
Oh, but baby fish mouth is sweeping
Final score, our team 110, you guys 60. Ouch.
I can't.
Now, this scene was slightly awkward for me because of Tracy Reiner.
Oh, that's right.
Because I knew her since she was a little girl.
Right, right.
And now I have to date her in the movie.
I'll help you.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was strange.
Cream, where's the bathroom? You that door down the hall.
You look like a baby to me.
Which part?
All of it.
Hey, Jess, you were going to show me the cover of your book.
Oh, yeah, it's in the den. Look, Julian, help yourself. Have some more wine, whatever you like, okay? I like saying it's in the den. It's got a nice ring to it.
Emily's a little young for Harry, don't you think?
She's young. Look what she's done.
What has she done? She makes dessert.
Does Julian seem a little stuffy to you?
He's a good guy. You should talk to him. Get to know him.
He's too tall to talk to.
He makes 3,500 chocolate pies a week.
Emily is Aunt Emily?
He took us all to a Met game last week. It was great.
See the little magician poster in the background?
Yeah.
I have that.
It was a last
The Mighty Magician?
Yeah.
The Mighty Might.
Yeah.
Emily doesn't even like sweet.
Julian is great.
I know. He's a grown-up.
Emily is terrific.
Yeah. Of course, when I asked her where she was when Kennedy was shot, she said Ted Kennedy was shot?
No.
No.
This is another little fine moment. He looks at the end. He always, he wants to know how it's going to come out.
Hello?
Are you alone?
Yeah, I was just finishing a book.
Did you come over?
What's the matter?
He's getting married.
Who?
Joe.
I'll be right there.
This is a perfect scene here that ups the stakes.
Mm-hmm.
She's vulnerable, and he wants to comfort her, and they do something that they shouldn't have done at this moment. This is when the friendship gets ruined.
I need Kleenex.
Okay.
Called me up, wanted to see how you were. Fine. How are you? Fine. Your secretary's on vacation.
This was nice, too, this little holding out the Kleenex.
Yeah, little pivot.
And I'm sitting on the phone thinking, I'm over him. I really am over him. I can't believe I was ever remotely interested in any of them. And then he said, I have some news. She works in his office. She's a paralegal. Her name is Kimberly.
Perfect name.
Yeah.
What's the matter? She's supposed to be his transitional person. She's not supposed to be the one. All this time,
I think you did about 30 takes of this.
We did a lot. Meg was really wonderful in this.
Unbelievable. You're both great.
want to marry me. He didn't love me.
It's one of the hardest things to do is the comedy cry, because
absolutely
you have to convey real emotion and you have to have real feeling, but at the same time you have to have a funny bone. It's a very hard thing to do.
I'm difficult.
I'm difficult. Look
Yeah.
at that. Look what she does
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
No, I drove him away.
When?
I mean,
She runs out of air.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there like this big dead end. And it's not the same for men. Charlie Chaplin had babies when he was 73.
Yeah, but he was too old to pick him up.
This moment. That. Pretty great.
Come here. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be. You'll see. Go ahead. It's not one of my favorites. It'll be okay.
Don't do it.
Yeah, remember with audiences, Rob, when they start to kiss, the audience would go, ooh.
Yeah, don't do it.
Make some.
Harry, could you just hold me a little longer?
Oh, sure. Oh.
You started it.
This is great. I love this shot.
Mm-hmm.
You see how this has affected each person. There's the beatific smile and the horror.
And I remember saying I should have 1 foot on the floor.
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah.
I should be at the. Let me
He's got
out.
1 foot out the door.
Do you want something to drink or something?
No, I'm okay.
Well, I'm going to get up for some water, so it's really no trouble.
Okay. Water.
Okay, water. That's good because you saved it for.
Yeah, you can, in the wide shot, you can see he's left with his thoughts. That's as sexy as I ever get in any of my movies.
Yeah, that. He's ready to go.
The 1 foot is on the floor. The penguins over your shoulder.
Yeah.
There's something else you don't have.
Right.
Index cards with your videos.
You have all your videotapes alphabetized on index cards. Thank you.
Do you want to watch something?
No, not unless you do.
No, that's okay. You want to go to sleep?
Okay.
That cue, if you hear the last note on the cue.
Not resolved. And the pigeon noises.
He's making his escape.
Where are you going?
I gotta go. Gotta go home, I gotta change my clothes, and then I have to go to work, and so do you. But after work, I'd like to take you out to dinner if you're free. Are you free?
Yes.
Fine, I'll call you later.
Fine.
Fine.
He's got to go clean his andirons. This is a scene we were talking about earlier, where this is one of these scenes where sound people look at this and they say, how the heck did you do this? And it looks very simple because all it is 4 people on screen the whole time talking to each other. And so what's the big deal? But when sound people see this, they can't imagine how he pulled this off. Because in order for this to work, and we rehearsed this for days and days and days, if you'll notice, there's not a cut in this whole thing. And we made it so that all 4 actors could hear all of the other conversations. Bruno and Carrie were in one set. Billy was in another set on another part of the soundstage. Meg was in another set on another part of the soundstage, and we set it up with baffling.
Right.
And we wired the phone so that they could all hear each other, because many times, even though Billy and Bruno are talking to each other and Carrie and Meg are talking to each other, their cues are from other people, not just the people they're talking to. And the timing has to be exactly perfect. And you notice they hang up at each boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
We shot this scene over 60 times.
Right.
And we had one perfect, I think, after about 50 or something.
Yeah.
And then Bruno, in this last little scene here, blew the line, I remember. And we had to go back and start it over again.
Yeah.
So we had, and I don't think we had more than 1 or 2 takes out of the 60 that were perfect.
60 or 61 takes. Yeah, I remember.
And it was a very difficult scene to do, but it's perfect. It's like a fugue. It's like a 4-part harmony. You know, with 4 instruments intertwining. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And like I say, it looks effortless. It looks like there's nothing happening. And it's just incredible rhythm and timing with the 4 actors.
Comes my favorite loop.
Which one?
2 mixed green salads.
Oh, yeah.
Where is he?
Yeah.
2 mixed green salads.
There he is. Always made me
2 mixed green salads.
Always made me laugh.
Here's something that you don't know, and then this is about actors eating in a scene. Billy had to eat a lot in the scene, but he had to make sure he was putting things in his mouth that weren't going to be cumbersome. So he picked the endive as a thing he could spear and stick it in his mouth, and then he could keep eating and keep talking. That's a little actor's trick.
For you kids, always pick the endive.
It is so nice when you can sit with someone.
You'll notice there's always something white going in there.
It's just like most of the time you go to bed with someone, then she tells you all her stories. You tell her.
Oh, the fast walking tights.
Oh, Sally and me.
But you had very nice asses.
I'm good at that's a good feature. It's my little Don Buford bow legs that I don't like. That's a.
Maybe you get to a certain point in a relationship where...
And anyone who was mad I wore a Manhattan City Slickers look, the NY.
Yeah, the Yankees. This is perfect. She's seeing her friend get fitted for a wedding gown, and she's sitting there eating M&Ms.
Yeah.
Was he seeing anyone?
He was seeing this anthropologist, but...
What does she look like?
Thin, pretty, big tits. Your basic nightmare. What do you think?
Oh, Marie.
And tell the truth.
It's just beautiful.
It is just beautiful. Isn't it a beautiful dress?
It is a beautiful dress. But the moment with her is her friend has a beautiful dress on, and I don't have a beautiful dress on.
Hey, Nora, remember the day we shot this in the reception? The days, it was a couple of days. This was at the Puck building.
Yeah.
We'd go to that restaurant right on Houston, began with a B. And we'd see John Gotti. Do you remember that?
No, I do not.
He passed us walking on the street because what was it called? The Ravenswood, the lounge that he...
Oh, right.
The social club was
yes,
right alongside us. It was a really good restaurant, began with a B on Houston. Still there. But we'd see Gotti and Sonny the Bull.
Binds all their hopes together. And by the rings they will wear...
I love this scene because it's a wedding scene. 2 other people are getting married, and it's all about their feelings towards each other during this.
I've never seen her so happy. She's a totally different person.
Oh, yeah, she is, girl. It's great. What are you going to do about you? Me? Yeah.
What I do?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I liked him, too.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice ceremony.
Beautiful.
Boy, the holidays are rough. Every year I just try to get from the day before Thanksgiving to the day after New Year's.
A lot of suicides.
Would you like a pea pie with shrimp?
Thank you.
How have you been?
Fine.
Are you seeing anybody?
Harry,
What?
I don't want to talk about this.
Why not?
I don't want to talk about it.
Why can't we get past this? I mean, are we going to carry this thing around forever?
forever. It just happened.
It happened 3 weeks ago. You know how a year to a person is like 7 years to a dog?
Yes? Is one of us supposed to be a dog in this scenario?
Yes,
Who is the dog?
you are.
I am. I am the dog.
Mhm.
I am the dog.
With this pea pod with shrimp.
I don't see that, Harry. If anybody is the dog, you are the dog. You want to act like what happened didn't mean anything.
I'm not saying it didn't mean anything. I am saying, why does it have to mean everything?
Well, it does. And you should know that better than anybody, because the minute that it happens, you walk right out the door.
I didn't walk out.
No, sprinted is more like it.
We both agreed it was a mistake.
Worst mistake I ever made.
What do you want from me?
I don't want anything from you.
Fine, fine, but let's just get one thing straight. I did not go over there that night to make love to you. That is not why I went there. But you looked up at me with his big weepy eyes. Don't go home tonight, Harry. Hold me a little longer, Harry. What was I supposed to do?
What are you saying? You took pity on
No, I was...
you?
It's great.
It's really clocked me, too.
Everybody, could I
She hit you.
Yeah, yeah.
attention, please?
It was good, though.
I'd like to propose a toast to
You see my face is red when I come back out.
Harry and Sally. If Marie or I had found either of them remotely attractive, we would not be here today.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let yourself be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight.
I remember, Nora, when we put this script together, holidays, which you talk about earlier in the film, you know, you have a date on national holidays. That became a good fence post for the film. I mean, we had New Year's, we had Christmas. Those things were where things are more charged. During holidays, things are always more charged, and I remember you wanting to have a lot of this take place during those times.
It's a great shot, Rob.
Yeah, the tree procedure.
Yeah, it was great.
If you're there, please pick up the phone. I want to talk to you. The fact that you're not answering leads me to believe you're either A, not at home, B, home.
See, normally, now you make a picture like this, and that would be a translite out the window.
Right.
It would be, a backing. We shot these in real locations, and it really gave a nice feel to it.
Mm-hmm. That was in the 20s. That
Yeah.
23rd. She said.
She wants to call me, she'll call me. Through making a schmuck out of myself. If you're feeling take the service I can run.
Yankee outfit.
Don't be afraid to just give me a call. Hello, hi. I didn't know that you were there. What are you doing?
I was just on my way out.
I like this scene a lot.
What do you want, Harry?
Nothing. I just called to say I'm sorry.
Okay. I gotta go.
Wait a second. Wait a second. What are you doing for New Year's? Are you going to the Tyler's party? Because I don't have a date. And if you don't have a date, we always said that if neither one of us had a date, we could go together for New Year's.
I can't do this anymore. I am not your consolation prize. Goodbye.
Dick Clark.
What's so bad about this? You have Dick Clark, that's tradition. You have Malamar's, the greatest cookie of the time. And you're about to give the Knicks their first championship since 1973.
Mr. Saturday thing.
There's Harry Connick singing. He's got a beautiful voice.
Oh, I'm lonesome without you.
Don't get around.
I don't know why I let you try and get this.
This is much better. Fresh air. I have the streets all to myself. Who needs to be at a big, crowded party pretending to have a good time? Plus, this is the perfect time to catch up on my window shopping. This is good. So the guy says, read the card.
Yeah.
I'm going home. You'll never get a taxi.
Oh, gosh.
Now, when in the various drafts of the film, we had different endings. At one point, I think before we shot, we had Harry and Sally not getting together.
No, that was really the first draft.
Oh, it was the first draft?
The first draft, they didn't get together.
They didn't get together,
and,
yeah.
And that, of course, is also a possible ending.
Yeah. I mean,
but then you turned up a year after that and said, no, of course they're getting together. So that was the end of that stupid idea.
right. But, even when I said they're getting back together, because I knew just from an audience standpoint, I mean, obviously you want to see these two people get together. In my mind, I didn't know how they could get together. I mean, it felt like a leap to me, like it was a manufactured thing. And it wasn't, oddly enough for me, until I met Michelle during the making of the movie that I realized, oh, I see how this could work again. Because when you go through stuff where, you're not being able to connect with a woman and you've been divorced or whatever, you can't imagine how that's going to happen again. Mm-hmm. And so when it does happen, it validated for me that this could happen to these two people, because they were both people who had come out of important relationships, and I couldn't figure for the life of me how they would wind up together. And then, like I say, when I met Michelle, it made sense to me. And this, we shot a couple of times with Billy, racing to see her at New Year's Eve. We shot it a couple of times. It didn't work the first time. And then we came up with this. I said, what would you really say to her?
Right.
I mean, why would you want to be with her? What would you really say? And Billy, and we came up with all of these ideas.
Remember, we sat down and just started saying
what are the things that are, why you, and my favorite line in this thing, which is, when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. And I thought that's a great way to kick this off. Right. And little things that you couldn't write, like, the thing about the crinkle on her nose. I mean, it's only something you could write if you have been observing somebody for a whole film. It's not something you would write at the beginning of a process. Yeah. It had a natural, organic process to it, and I think that's why when we reshot the ending and had this wonderful speech that you give to her, it all fell into place.
Yeah, I remember in the rehearsals sitting down, and we just everyone kept saying things, and it's sweet, the romantic, and he's being honest with her. You're the last person I want to talk to before I go to sleep at night.
Right.
I love you.
What?
I love you.
How do you expect me to respond to this?
How about you love me too?
How about I'm leaving?
Doesn't what I said mean anything to you?
I'm sorry, Harry. I know it's New Year's Eve. I know you're feeling lonely, but you just can't show up here, tell me you love me, and expect that to make everything all right. It doesn't work this way.
Well, how does it work?
I don't know, but not this way.
How about this way? I love that you get cold when it's 71 degrees out. I love that it takes you an hour and a half to order a sandwich. I love that you get a little crinkle above your nose when you're looking
And
at
that to me, moment, I love that moment.
spend a day with you. I can still smell your perfume on my clothes. And I love that you are the last person I want to talk to before I go to sleep at night. And it's not because I'm lonely, and it's not because it's New Year's Eve. I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
You see? Just like you, Harry, you say things like that and you make it impossible for me to
That's a great line.
Yeah.
hate you, Harry.
And I love that she says, I hate you. I love that we decided to end, have a person saying, I hate you, and that means I love you. And it, to me, it's wonderful.
What does this song mean? My whole life, I don't know what this song means. I mean, should old acquaintances be forgotten? Does that mean that we should forget old acquaintances? It doesn't mean that if we happen to forget them, we should remember them, which is not possible because we already forgot.
Well, maybe it just means that we should remember that we forgot them or something.
That's how you know they're going to be happy forever because
Yeah.
they make each other laugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
First time we met,
And then the wonderful bracket of having them now be the couple on the couch. So you realize that the whole film is all about.
Well, that was your idea, darling, and it is just great.
We were friends for a long time.
and then we weren't.
And then we fell in love. 3 months later, we got married.
It only took 3 months.
12 years and
We had a really wonderful wedding.
it really was a
It was great.
beautiful
We had this enormous coconut cake.
huge coconut cake.
And this was all improvised.
Yeah.
Very rich chocolate sauce on the side.
Right? Because not everybody likes it on the cake because it makes it very soggy.
Particularly the coconut soaks up a lot of that stuff, so it's important to keep it on the side.
Right.
We could have a morning
Congratulations to all the players.
That was a great visit.
Yeah.
Could make me be true.
You know what's nice about this? I mean, we're sitting, Billy and I are sitting, for the people who are going to watch this thing, Billy and I are sitting in a room. Nora's in New York, sitting in another room. And we're sitting here reminiscing about making this movie, and it's like watching home movies.
It really is. It felt like yesterday, too. It did. Didn't it feel so immediate? I mean, you watch it because it's just great. Now, Rob, let me ask you one question, though. You have Harry singing throughout, but you also have Ella Fitzgerald in some. The choice of Sinatra for It Had to Be You was like perfect because it could have been Harry.
Right.
Nothing against Harry. He's fantastic. But I think when you fall in love and you realize that your mind hears Sinatra.
Yeah, Sinatra, yeah. And but that was the one time we actually spent some money. We got a Frank Sinatra rendition of It Had to Be You.
Baby, let's.
And Judy Bauer. I forgot about Judy Bauer. Shell Hecht. Now, Shell Hecht was, to me, if we didn't have Shell, we wouldn't have been able to make this.
Please explain the best boy to anybody who watches the credits.
Oh, I know. I know.
The best boy is a person who he can be a grip, he can be a gaffer. He's one that can move between all the different functions on a set. He's the best boy. Look at all the songs we used. Ladies' Lunch.
Total budget of the movie back in 1988?
I think it was 14.5 million. 14.5.
Writing songs of love, but not for me. I like the stars of.
Well, it is your dream that you will make a movie like this and it will last longer than a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it was a great experience from every standpoint, just not only creatively, but physically, just being in New York and you know, being in those great locations and being able to have lunch every day on the set. I mean, it was a great
Yeah, thanks for letting me come to lunch. That was one of the great things. Well, it's true. I could never get over that. But lunches were so amazing.
It had to be you.
See there, it says a special thanks to Saul Horn for his inspiration. Saul Horn was Alan Horn's father, and he was the inspiration for that first story in the film. That was his story.
It had to be you, wonderful you.
Have you noticed how long end credits are now on movies?
Yes.
That was so nice and short.
I know.
Congratulations on your short end credits.
Thank you, Nora. Congratulations to you.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.